So you just got an offer accepted on your dream home, but you don't know what's next. It feels like there's a million different things that you need to do and you're confused about the whole process, right? That's why I'm here. Hi, my name's Tony. I'm a local real estate agent in Southern California, and I'm here to help you make the home buying process less scary. See, too many buyers feel like they don't understand what's going on, or they're worried they're going to get screwed over by their real estate agent or their lender. My goal is to clarify the process for you so that you can follow along with the entire escrow process. Now, I'm going to talk through a lot of different things in this video, but I want to make sure you have a tangible resource that you can go back to as you go through the process yourself. So I put together a home buying guide for you. This is a checklist for everything that will happen from the time your offer gets accepted all the way to the closing table 3 to 6 weeks later. You can follow along with that and bring that to your real estate agent, or if you don't have an agent in the area and you're in Southern California, I'd love to have a conversation with you about what that process may look like for you. So without further ado, let's get into it. You've just e-signed the offer, sent it over to the seller, and they have accepted. So now you are officially called what's under contract. You're under contract to purchase a home. That means that you and the seller have reached an agreement where the seller will not go shop for other offers. They've decided to work with you, and now you have all the power in the negotiation. What I always tell my clients is as soon as the offer gets accepted, you move from the passenger seat to the driver's seat. So the very first thing that you need to do when your offer gets accepted is start talking with your lender. Your lender is going to open up a loan file for you once you've completed an application. So what you're going to say is, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Lender, I have had an offer accepted on a property. I need you to start working on the loan file. Your real estate agent should send a copy of that contract over to the lender. They're going to ask you for a bunch of documents. You're going to give them those documents and they'll get to work on your loan file. At that point, you can go ahead and check that off. There's nothing you need to do right now. I'm going to talk about the next step for you and then circle back on where the lender will get back to you here in a moment. So we'll talk about inspections and then come back to the lender. There are a lot of different types of home inspections, but the main one is just a general home inspection from a licensed home inspector. This will be typically anywhere between a 30 to a 70-page report that somebody will put together who comes out to the property and looks at every single thing that could be wrong with it. They'll go through the exterior, the interior, the kitchen, the bathrooms, the plumbing, the roof, making sure that anything from a defective light switch to a major sewer or electrical problem are viewed and disclosed to you. Now, these home inspectors are not experts in any specific field, but they're very good at inspecting homes and know what to look for from a general sense. So what they may say is if there's an acute problem with the home, if there's something funky with the electrical or the plumbing or the foundation, they may refer you to another contractor who's licensed in that field. That's not uncommon. And so if your inspector does that, know that it's not because they're not doing their job. It's because they want a professional in that field to look at it. Now, once you get the home inspection done, you'll have a couple of supplemental inspections as well. Likely you'll have a termite inspection from a pest control specialist. They'll come out and make sure that the home is either termite free or they'll be able to quote the amount of damage that has been done to the home. I had one new construction home where it was completely clean and there was no termite issues. But for any existing construction, I have never had a termite report come back clean. So you can use that for reference. Usually that's a scary report that comes back. It's up to you to figure out whether you want to go ahead and do that work or not. Now, you'll have the home inspection, you'll have a termite inspection. You may also want to get a sewer line inspection. This was one that I learned the hard way personally when I bought my first home. I didn't do a sewer line inspection and wound up having to replace the entire main sewer line going into the house. Now, this cost me over $10,000 and it was a big mistake. And so now for all of my clients and for any house that I buy, I make sure that I do a sewer inspection so I don't run into that same situation again. If you live in an area where it's either very hilly or very wet, you'll definitely want to have a foundation inspection done as well. Houses do shift over time, so some of that shifting and cracking is okay and normal, some of it is not and needs further evaluation. That's something that a foundation contractor or a foundation inspector can do, and they'll be able to tell you how much it may cost to get that work done, or if it's just normal. they usually do a very good job of differentiating between what's normal and not an issue and what you may want to have taken care of or looked further at. So as far as inspections go, those are the main items that you'll see. You'll want a home inspection, a sewer inspection, a termite inspection. Sometimes you'll need a roofer or an electrician or a plumber or an HVAC tech, depending on what's going on with the home. But those are all what I call supplemental inspections. Once those inspections have been completed, you likely will have the opportunity to go back and renegotiate with the seller. Most of the contracts that I write for buyers, I put in there that we can go back and renegotiate the price based on the inspection results. What will happen is once you get all of those results in, you'll figure out how much it would cost to get those items completed, and then you'll be able to go back to the seller and start renegotiating. You can either ask the seller to fix some of those items before closing, or you can ask for credit that will be given to you so that you can fix them after closing. Depending on what you want, you can go either way. A lot of times with first-time home buyers who don't want to do a lot of work, I recommend having the seller fix items that need to be fixed. But if you're handy or you have a contractor that you really trust, I usually ask for credit, and then you can do that after closing, oftentimes for cheaper than what it would cost somebody else to do it. So once you come to an agreement on terms, assuming you get through inspections and you decide you want to keep moving forward with the deal, you'll go ahead and release the inspection contingency. This is done differently in each state, but essentially it's you saying, hey, I'm good with the inspections. We're going to keep moving forward in the deal. What will happen after the home inspections is you'll get what's called an appraisal. If you're getting a loan, you need to get an appraisal. If you're buying a house with all cash, you don't necessarily need to, but what it is basically somebody who offers a third-party value of the home. Your real estate agent should have run comparable property sales for the property you put an offer on to make sure that you're in the right ballpark as far as price goes. But the appraisal is a third-party unbiased opinion of the value of your property. Now, there's a lot of different factors that go into the appraisal, but all that to say they are a third-party, unbiased person who's going to go look at the property. There were a lot of issues with this back in 2008 with inflated appraisals, and it contributed to the housing crisis. So tons of regulation has been put in place for appraisers since 2008. What happens is the bank will hire an appraisal management company. That appraisal management company will assign an individual appraiser to that property. They'll go in and they'll look at everything from the physical characteristics of the property to similar properties that have sold, and they'll make adjustments to those and come up with an appraised value. Now, this is important because your bank will likely either lend to you based on the purchase price or the appraised value, whichever is lower. So you need to be very careful of this if you're offering way above the asking price on a property or offering what you think is more than it might appraise for, because the bank won't give you a loan for that much money. When I work with clients, we will 95+% of the time put in an appraisal contingency, which says if the property appraises for less than what we offered on it, we have the ability to back out of the contract. This is really important for you as a buyer to make sure that you have an out if the appraisal doesn't come at or above the value that you're paying for the property. Now, if it does come back low, you can, one, either back out of the deal and get your earnest money back if you have an appraisal contingency. Two, you can renegotiate with the seller and ask them to drop their price. Or three, you can come up with the difference out of pocket. So if the appraisal comes back low, you will be responsible for covering the difference if you don't go back and renegotiate with the seller. That's an option. If you have the cash to do it and it's a great deal, go ahead and front that money. But basically what happens with the appraisal is the bank says, look, between you and the seller, you have to figure out who's going to pay the difference because we're capped at our appraised value. We're not going to lend you more than the certain percentage of that value. So the last step that you're really going to have as a buyer is once you've gotten through inspections, once you've gotten through appraisal, is getting your financing secured. Now, your lender's been working in the background for the last couple of weeks, and now they're likely just going to need a couple extra documents for you and making sure that you are conditionally approved for the loan. Now, conditionally approved means that you are good to go with the loan if certain conditions are met. You'll get that sometime along the way during the contract process, but before you release your loan contingency, you need to make sure you're fully approved for the loan. This works differently in different states as well. My process is different in Tennessee than it is now in California. But if you're getting a loan, this is absolutely essential to you to make sure that your financing is in order before you tell the seller, hey, I'm good. I'm releasing my loan contingency. I'm ready to keep moving forward in the deal. If for some reason you're not approved for a loan, you can go ahead and back out. If you have what's called a financing contingency in place, you can back out of the deal and get your earnest money back and call it a day. But once you've made it through inspections, appraisal, and financing, you're in the home stretch. And so once those three have been done, now you can start working toward closing. There's going to be two entities that are working on making sure the property is actually sellable. Those will be the title company and the escrow company. Some states those are the same, some they're two separate companies, but basically what they're doing is making sure that your down payment, the lender's funds, and any charges that need to be either prorated or applied at closing get squared away. They're kind of like the accounting department for this transaction. That's what escrow does. And then title makes sure that the title on the property is clear and that the property can actually be sold, because you don't want the seller's great aunt who had an interest in the property at some point come at you after you buy the property and say, I still own this. I didn't say that it was okay to sell. That's what the title company is there for, to make sure that the property is sellable by the person who signed the contract and is ready to sell. So they're going to be working in the background. All you need to do is keep making sure that your lender's up to date on all your pay stubs, all the documents that you need to get them. Make sure that your realtor has everything they need. They're going to have a bunch of paperwork for their file. And then you need to set your appointment for signing the closing documents. That's where you're officially going to sign the last section of what you need to do. The seller will sign the documents releasing the title of the property, and you will go ahead and be the new owner. That's a little bit of an involved process, but you don't have to do a whole lot for it other than review and sign the documents if everything looks good. And then congratulations, you are the owner of a new property. So again, there are some state-specific things that happen. This is meant to be a general overview of the process and meant for informational purposes only. Go ahead and check with your real estate agent, your lender, and all parties involved in the transaction to see if there are extra steps in your state. And if you're in the state of California, I would love to have a conversation with you about how I can help you buy or sell a property. Go ahead and just give me a call or shoot me a text. I've got my number in the comment section below. And with that, happy house hunting. Congratulations if you're already under contract. And I hope to hear from you soon.